Hi, everyone.
Everyone, this is Assistant Chief Trevino. He's over our community. There's some other areas in the north side, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And,
Is it a central road?
Central Division is over my community, yes, sir.
Yes. You just affected on central division.
we were, let me give you a copy of this program. We were at the issue of, who is the official captain of Freedman area?
Sure. And it's Captain Mark Holloway. He is the commander over Central Division that encompasses the 4th Ward. And Freedman Town area.
That's from 61 Regional Street back over to here,
Correct.
downtown.
No, I work out of the downtown 1200 Travis, but
Okay,
Captain Holloway works out of
command is
61.
it?
Sir?
61 Regional, downtown.
61 Regional is where Central Division is housed. Yes, sir.
61 Regional.
Yes.
Okay, our concern, Chief, is that it's like a group of rogue cops, 24/7, constantly terrorize and harass African Americans in this community. And one of our neighbors who's Caucasian has been harassed too because he's constantly filming the harassment as it goes on, and if he's just walking the community, they just stop him. They know he's a resident out here. So our concern is that why, when I go before council to try and get some tangible, progressive results, there's always disdain. It's like, oh, the nerve of you all out there to complain, you know. If, because of the gentrification of our community with the influx of the Caucasian homeowners who are constantly complaining that we walk the street too much, we sing in churches too loud, when we have funerals we block off the streets, but yet they moved into our neighborhood. This is a whole different culture here, okay? And we're just concerned that HPD is so focused on pleasing the Caucasian population, which is the minority population in our community, which induces further terrorism or terrorizing of the African American population in our neighborhood. And no matter where we turn, it appears that we cannot get any justice. And this is why we invited you to the meeting, because there is a so-called supervisor with HPD who oversees these group of rogue cops. That's what our style does, which sort of mandates or rubber stamps their wrongdoing. And I really don't, I don't recall his name right off, but he was included in my complaint to Internal Affairs, okay? And so I'll have to pull my complaint on that. And I can understand why the residents don't file more complaints with Internal Affairs. First, they're so terrorized and intimidated by HPD that they don't dare go file a complaint because they will be harassed even further, okay? Secondly, when you do go down to Internal Affairs to file complaints, they almost talk you out of filing a complaint, okay? Because I've gone down there on behalf of different people as well as myself to file complaints. I had to actually type my own complaint. I said, you know, and that shouldn't be. I mean, right there in the office, they did not want to type mine. They said the computer was down or any excuse. And then they turn around and alerted the officers that I was complaining against, that so that they could take cover-up action or whatever. And the next day, 12 of them came out to my business to arrest me. Well, if you're going to arrest me, this was back in 06. But if you're going to arrest me the day before when everything happened. But they became upset that I filed a complaint against them with Internal Affairs. And then what made matters worse, they, the Internal Affairs Department said, well, Gladys, you had no witnesses. There's, 5 officers against you. Well, I don't have to lie. I mean, my goodness. So the system is already stacked against us when you go to Internal Affairs. Then I went a step further to the assistant chief who oversees Internal Affairs, met with him about having, I appealed it. And he said on it once passed, and I called and followed up with it and with him, and he said, "Oh, well, what was that about?" And so all he did was eat up the clock so the statute could run. Okay, and all he could do is say, "Well, we have to go over the same information." So when you look at that, and I come back and tell people the neighborhood, they say, "Well, Gladys, if they're doing you like that, we don't stand a chance."
Exactly.
You see, so it's like it's no hope, and we don't want it to get to a point. I know you don't want to get to a point where someone becomes killed. They lose their life. Maybe an officer, maybe a resident of Freedman. And so we're here again, and we've gone before City Council, and nothing has really happened. So we're now pleading our case for justice, and we really need to. We were talking before you came in about having a citizen review set up right here in Freedmanstown so that we can curtail innocent people being arrested on the spot. Because the poor families out here, Chief, they don't have the financial resources, and HQ officers know this, to bond out relatives, pay attorney fees and all that. They just don't have those resources. And the cost of being harassed, it's got to, even the pastor last Friday, she was stopped by the cops. You see, it just goes on and on.
It's kind of it's a difficult fine line that has to be drawn. Because one, and in my position, the most important thing here in the fourth ward is that if there is crime being committed, that crime needs to be investigated, and officers have to be actively engaged in seeing what actually has to be done to keep the neighborhood safe. Now, when I say there's a fine line, because there's some communities that what I hear most of the time is that there isn't enough police officers in my neighborhood, and I want more police officers. Why can't you, Chief Trevino, get me more police officers? And so here we have a situation where we have police officers, but the relationship with the community is in your perspective, somewhat rough to say the least. And so what I'm here to tell you is that when you called me, even though we had another event tonight, I mean, I said, Ms. House, I'll be here. I was a sergeant that worked out here, and I'll tell you, I've known you for 20 years, and I'll tell you, I told you back then, I'll tell you now, I mean, I'll do whatever I have to help you out to deal with some of these issues, because you're absolutely right. We need to work together in dealing, because just like in any other community in Houston, I mean, we do have, would you at least admit that we do have some crime problems in this area?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes.
And we must work together to address those crime problems. And so how we go about that is what we need to talk about. And how are we going to do it together? Now, if you feel that certain people are being targeted, like for example, you just said people can't bond people out of jail. That tells me they were committing some sort of a crime to get arrested.
That's not true. That's not true. Is it against the law to walk down the street at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Your police officers continually harass people for nothing. They don't have to be violating the law.
Excuse me. Hold on.
You come out here and live it.
Excuse me. Let's be respectful.
Those police officers don't respect us.
Hold on, buddy. Let's be respectful, because I'm going to tell you something. All people were here suffering way before you got here.
That don't give them cops a license to violate my rights.
But hold on, buddy. Wait a minute.
Wait, let's just stop it. I'm the pastor.
This ain't your
here,
church.
And so let's just stop it. He's a member here.
Wait, just respectful.
Okay, but Tim, just calm down, okay, Tim? Tim has more other things going on besides what you see here, okay? So Tim,
I've
just
never
try
met
to
you,
hold
Tim.
it.
Well, I've met your officers under bad
I'm John
circumstances.
Trevino. It's good to meet you, Tim. And let's not start.
But
this
you say you
relationship.
have to be doing something wrong to go to jail. That's not true.
Yeah,
That's not true. That is not a true statement.
Tim, we'll get to.
So don't put it on the victim. Don't blame the victim.
Tim, listen to me. We're forming a relationship.